Yeah, go ahead, it is audible.
Hello, everyone. Uh, this
Yeah,
is Ayushi. Yeah, should
now
I
I
begin?
invite Aishi ma'am. You may begin your presentation.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rishu. Hello, everyone. This is Ayushi from Christ University, Bangalore. Currently, I'm a second year MA in English with Communication Studies student. And my paper is exploring the eco-feminist perspective in Margaret Atwood's surfacing. I would begin with what the primary eco-feminist scholars had to say. There was a French eco-feminist by name Francis Hugon, who argues that there are many parallels that exist between the patriarchal oppression of women and of nature, which again results in environmental destruction and also in a presence of patriarchy that has always been there. But eco-feminist perspective tries to draw parallels between the oppression of nature and the oppression of women. As we all know that from from the earliest of times, nature and feminine have been exploited over the years. And this novel in particular tries to trace that oppression through our protagonist's journey, who takes this journey in the northern island of Quebec, Canada. And it also tries to establish a relationship between Warren's theory of a nature culture hierarchy and how nature and culture are largely down in the hierarchical perspective, whereas men and the civilization perspective of it is always kept upwards in the hierarchy. That is what the study is trying to do. It's trying to establish a relationship between nature and female, largely how they are oppressed in this novel in particular. The concept or the framework that I have worked upon is value hierarchical, up and down thinking, and also some influence from Lacan's structure of the psyche, which I will explain in my analysis part when I give examples. Uh, Now a little bit about how Canadian studies have established this nature and the oppression of female and how they have actually evolved through the years. So largely studies in Canadian identity have been about the survival instincts because Canada has a comparatively briefer history as compared to other civilizations in particular. Most of the Canadian works of the earlier times have been about the survival instincts and how they try to survive in a very, very rough terrain that's surrounded by forests and about by the wilderness. But many writers in the modern Canadian fiction believe that city life is a refuge from that tough terrain that people live in. But in this novel, in particularly, there are two writers, Atwood and Wilson, who believe in the opposite. That when people actually get stuck in the city life, they try and find a refuge in nature, which is exactly what our protagonist is doing in this novel. So now I'll begin with the examples of how this oppression is taking place in our novel that's surfacing. As I said, our protagonist is actually taking a journey to Quebec to find more about her missing father. And she's taking this journey with three of her friends, that is David, Anna, and Joe. The first thing that she sees when she enters the territory of this island, she sees that there are white birches. They are dying. And the old road that she was familiar with is now closed. So she sees that how she spent her childhood, everything has changed now. The entire landscape has changed because of technological advancements and also because of the encroachment of Americans because they are coming here to utilize the natural resources. Everything that she once believed in has changed, and that the natural resources of the terrain are dying. Then her position is parallel, wherein she says that Canada's natural resources are encroached by American. And again, she believes that the way her life has been is very similar to how her life has been encroached by several external factors. Because in her previous relationship, she was forced to do a lot of things. She was forced to undergo an abortion that was not her consent. But because her ex-lover thought that it's not something very significant and it's just like removing a wart. It's very animalistic. She thought that it was very animalistic of him to say so, but she believed that her consent was not of significance in that decision. Then the second example that I would give is about fishing. So when our protagonist moves into the interiors of the island and she sees that there is a heron that has been killed and hanged upside down. And then again there is an explosion at the lake, and she just asks her friends that, what is happening. So they say that it's largely because the Americans are encroaching in the land. This again reminds her of her childhood trauma. This reminds her of her childhood game of stabbing the doll, and how her brother used to keep these frogs bottled. And when one day she decided to actually release those frogs in the water, she was actually thrashed by her brother, and she believes that that was the first lesson in patriarchal oppression. And from then on, all her relationships have been that. All of her relationships have been oppressive. Largely, the male partner has been very dominant. The second example is again of how she actually tries to connect the clues of her father's missing, and then she comes to know that he actually tried to kill himself, but he failed in the attempt, and he eventually died. But she never gets to know how he died. That is again a mystery that she's trying to, but she never gets to know till the end of the novel. And she also believes that whatever happened with her father, or whatever happened, was because he could not adjust with the changing times, with how nature is being exploited and how there is so much technological advancement happening. So that is there. So yeah, I would like to conclude my paper by saying that once we reach towards the end of the novel, we find that our protagonist is in the midst of nature. She decides to stay back in Quebec for some time and live totally amongst nature, cut herself from everybody, and then she realizes that she's actually evolved as a person, and now she has that freedom to live a life that she wants, and she's not dependent on anybody, and she's finally found her voice and her individuality. So that's how the novel concludes, and she decides to go back and start a new life with her partner Joe, apparently. So yeah, that's my paper. Thank you so much.
Excellent presentation, Ayushi. You have kept the time as well, which is equally good. And you have given a very good reading of Atwood's surfacing from an ecofeminist perspective. Largely, we understand or we study Atwood and surfacing from a feminist perspective. But yeah, since Margaret Atwood herself prides herself as an environmental activist, it makes a lot of sense that there are ecofeminist undertones in the novel. Now, you were saying that at the beginning of your paper, you were mentioning that she was trying to suggest that even when somebody is living in an urban setting, you can find a refuge in nature. So, how does she manifest that through her novel, for instance?
So I would like to say that our protagonist is actually living in the city. She's actually come to this island with her friends in search of her father, because she's always believed that she's actually disconnected from her father because of her city life. And now she comes to this island to actually disconnect and to look for her father. And then is when she realizes that whatever she was trying to find in the hustle and bustle of city life, she finds it in nature. She feels that when she disconnects from the city life is when she can grieve about her lost child, and she can grieve about her parents, she can grieve about everything, because nobody is here to judge her, or nobody is here to actually tell that, this is something that she does not have to hide her emotions as we do in our busy lives. So I think that is how Atwood is trying to convey that.
Fair enough. See, the platform is open. Participants, feel free to ask your questions and raise your suggestions. Ayushi is listening, waiting for your encouragement and criticism. Yes. Any more questions? Please feel free to ask.
Aishi ma'am, how will you integrate the concept of climate change and the changing climate of feminism?
I think that as we see that the way our approach is towards climate change, it is ever evolving. It evolves, and the policies are changed accordingly. Now, of course, we see that there's a move towards sustainability and everything. And when we talk about feminism, I think earlier it was largely about fighting for the rights of a particular gender, but now it has more become about equality. Because now, when we talk about feminism, we no longer say that it's just about women. We always say that it is about everything that concerns everyone, and it talks about equality. So I think that is the shift that we see in both the aspects. That is that feminism is also an ever evolving discipline, and so is climate change.
Thank you, ma'am.
Excellent answer. One more small thing. I just wanted to ask whether you had to go run through your paper because of time constraints. But have you done a literature review, and have you found other ecofeminist readings of Atwood surfacing?
Yes, sir, there were some of them in my literature review, but
So my
largely,
question is, what is
yes.
it that differentiates your paper from all that? What is your own finding? Yeah.
So my own finding is that I have actually tried to put in two aspects here together: ecofeminist perspective, and also, as I mentioned, Lacan's idea. Because our protagonist, when she actually goes back into nature and when she's isolated, she's completely by herself. She goes into the mirror stage, as Lacan mentions, and she's now like a child. She's actually trying to learn everything from the very beginning. And then when she sees herself in the mirror, she then learns about how language and civilization was actually imbibed in herself. So I think she's moving from that stage, from the mirror stage to the imaginary order. She's doing all of that again when she's in isolation. So I feel that is something that I've tried to bring in, and that is how I'm saying that she's trying to she actually discovers herself through that entire process.
Okay, very good, Ayushi. Good paper, good presentation, and if we had more time, we would have loved to listen to the entire paper because you have so many things left unsaid, right? I can sense that from whatever you are saying now. So, thank you for that, and Richu, we shall move to the next presentation.
Thank you, Ayushi ma'am,
Thanks.
for the first presentation. Now we move on to the second presentation by Priyanka Dutta, PhD Research Scholar, EFLU Lucknow campus.
Uh, Hello everyone. Hello sir. Hello Richu.
You're visible.
Like, am I audible?
Yeah, is there a presentation?
Yes, yes, there is, and I'm
Yes.
like sharing it. Is my screen presentation visible?
Not yet, but it will come eventually.
Okay, yeah, it's here.
Huh, yeah, it's up.
Yeah, it's here.
Yes, Priyanka, go
Uh,
ahead.
my like I will be presenting today on the research research paper which I have done, which is on like the discourse and ideology in three plays of Manjula Padmanavan. The plays are A Harvest, The Wish, and The Rape Artist. And all these three plays are like dystopian plays, and they have this themes of absurdity, hopelessness, and and has repressive structures, all things which are very similar to the dystopian genre. And this place portrays how the powerful and manipulative elite praise and consumes the powerless third world poor masses. And in the place, through critical analysis, I will dismantle the Eurocentric narrative which is present, subtly present in all these plays, and what are the master narratives of development, advancement, and civilization. And even the titles, the harvest or the wish and the rape artist, they're very suggestive. And like the title harvest, it is on organ harvesting, and it also suggests that when we think in a different manner other than crop harvesting, that is like there are negative connotations, as the genre also suggests. Mm, the characters which are in the plays and their dialogues uh, show that how language manipulations are very suggestive, and how covertly language and even the state machinery um, um, it manipulates other people in the place, the character in the place. And also how like patriarchy is present, like it's underneath, it's not visible very overtly, but it's underneath in all the place. And how even in this contemporary urban society, where we think, like in the urban society, where we on the surface we feel like male, female, or man, woman, there is parity, but yeah, patriarchy is there and repression is there, the like gendered repression and different kinds of repression. My research paper, I will see how the dominant discourses, like society, healthcare, and even gender or economic status, manipulates and changes the society and the character and their destiny. How it's done. Um, all the three plays shows like injustice, repression, exploitation, and it also shows like how biopower or like psychological like manipulation or covert manipulation is more brutal and it's more like repressive than physical force or physical brutal force. But in the even now in this postmodern atomistic age, biopower is not criminalized. And like for the research, I have I have done a text based qualitative research, and the study is an intersectional critical study. And for the critical analysis, I have used the cultural theories of panopticon, interpellation, and even the Foucauldian theory of power and gaze. And trauma theory is there for it's a bit it's there in a little way, and also the theory of simulacra and simulation. Then I will come to the dystopian genre. Dystopian genre is a recent genre. It's historically a recent genre, and the result of the recent wars, mass genocide, and also the incessant mechanization, and due to the onset of European capitalism. And this is a consumerist mindset. This is the result of a consumerist mindset and industrialized mindset. It's like it's a recent phenomenon, the dystopian genre is, and it's like an um, result of the industrialized, consumerized, and also the monopolized world that we live in. Manjula Padmanavan is quite a very famous Indian author, and she has written a lot of dystopian novels and like the futuristic speculative fiction also. And Harvest and The Rape Artist and The Wish are some of her most iconic works. Okay. Now I will come to the first play, The Harvest. Harvest is about organ trade, and it's a future. It is present in a futuristic society, and like it was written in 1997, and it portrays the society of Bombay in 2010, and it's about a very poor family, and how they switch, like they go to that extent that they try to harvest their own organs. Like one of the family members, who is Om Prakash, he is forced to sell his harvest and sign off his own organs just to gain some money and basic benefits. And this is a very ironic commentary on what even the basic benefits of living, like food, water, and shelter, are right now uh, there for sale, because the common masses are not getting that. Also, this is a dystopian fiction, and it also is a very striking commentary on the way the Indian society at present is, and the thirst, the hunger of the and the class divide which is present between the haves and the have-nots. It's also there in the plays. And then the second play is The Wish. It's a conversational monologue and a one-act performance piece, and the play begins with a man standing alone under a spotlight. The man is middle aged, attractive, and urban. And then the play begins as a banter and a conversational tone. And let me check. and conversational tone. And the play begins as the description of the environment, and then there is a surreal atmosphere, and a woman comes, and then the woman says that you have the power to annihilate. Then what will you do? And the man justifies his decision in the end. He wants to annihilate half of the world's population, because it's the world is overpopulated, and the intentions are noble, and like for better survival, for annihilating poverty, for annihilating class divide, lessening of the population is needed. But the way it's done, by a switch of a click, like just like nuclear power or a nuclear bomb or atomic bomb, we can't annihilate a part of the population. It can't be done. But yeah, this is where there is a battle between what's right and what's wrong, and what is ethics and what are the morals. And in this way, the wish critically reflects the barriers of class, region, language, nationality, and culture, and how one ethnicity will prioritize themselves in the name of goodness, and how to alleviate poverty and everything, how to end wars by creating more wars. It's a subtle commentary on that. And it also shows metaphorically like the power of life and death in the hands of powerful people through a metaphorical click of a switch. But in the end, there is a positive twist when the protagonist in the wish empathizes with all sorts of people, and he thinks that okay, this shouldn't be done. So yeah. And then the third play is the rape artist. And the rape artist, as the name suggests, it's a very ironic, and the negative connotations are there, and it's subtly present. It's not subtle, it's vividly present throughout the play. Rape artist is a satiric play on the dominant discourse about violence, perversion, and crimes which are perpetuated on women, and how there is a constant interpellation of the patriarchal ideology which is present in the minds of the masses. How when a rape happens, the rapist, even if he's not caught, it's not a problem, but the rape victim is mostly like in societies, in Indian societies, in villages, and even in urban societies, is shamed. Like she should be ashamed for being raped. So that is also present here. Like this is a like the rape artist and the rape artist. It's a freaky reality television show where a lean unemployed man named Bunty is brought in as the controversial rape artist. And then he is not there's this jarring terminology, like rape is not a art, but he's called the rape artist. Then in a conversational confessional mind game, Bunty is interviewed by the lady anchor called Nimmi, and through this harmless banter we come to know about the psychological setup of both Bunty and Nimmi. And it also shows how the contemporary urban Indian society is, and what are the perceived notions of violence, harassment, rape, and trauma.
Your time
Okay,
is up, man.
okay. It's like 12 minutes are up.
12 minutes are up. You start at 12:47, 57, 59.
Okay, okay, okay. Uh, and this are like and okay. Can I say a line for my conclusion? Like I conclude with I reflect on this dystopian idea, which is not a improbable future, distant time, but it is going to happen, and the relatability of all this plays with this genre and with our times. It's like we are living in the times of a pandemic, where the whole world is living in fear, angst, and that's due to a infection of simple cough and flu. So that's it. It's absurd and it's weird, but it's happening. So yeah, I end my um, um, presentation with that. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Priyanka. It was a good presentation. Richu, the bell wasn't very audible. Please make sure it is audible. Bell. well wasn't audible in the first place. Okay, Priyanka, so you were doing an
Yes.
intersectional analysis. Um,
Yes, sir.
yeah, it made a lot of sense, but there seemed a slight issue because this is a research paper again. Three
Mhm.
plays plus so many theories brought into analyzing that. How would you how would you do all that in the space of say 2500 or 3000 words? That is a problem. I mean, I think
I will lessen
this,
it down, I guess.
yeah,
That
it
would
is
be better.
probably it is part of a larger project. That is why it is like that. That is fine. Now I have a question for you. You mentioned words like, in the title itself we have ideology, and you were constantly referring to apparatuses and things like that. But why is there no reference to Althusser in any of the theories that you had mentioned?
Sir, I will be like Althusser is the like ideology, and I will be referring to that. But here I didn't.
Okay.
That's it. Like
So
just
is
in
he
this,
part of
but in
the
the
scheme of things
yes,
in
yes,
this
he
play?
Althusser will be there. Obviously,
And
yeah,
and
he
one
will.
statement you made, probably I heard it wrong. Biopower is not criminalized. What did
Mm-hmm.
you mean by that?
Like psychological manipulations or covert manipulations, like through like power, like this covert plays of power and everything, which happens with people. Like rape is criminalized, but psychological brutal trauma, which happens through years, it's not criminalized till now. So
Can
in
we
that
say
sense,
that biopower is not criminalized?
no, 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 haha, that was a wrong terminology, I
Ah,
guess.
yes,
But
that
yeah,
that yeah.
but only physical brutal force is like law criminalizes that. But the subtle manipulations of
Exactly.
words
Yeah.
and influences and interpolation of the dominant discourses or anything, any sort of discourse injected into a mind or injected into the masses, that goes unseen and unheard in today's society. And that is the, I guess, right now it's the most potent tool of manipulation and control which we're having through media, through other tools. And that is not criminalized for speaking falsities or like speaking which is wrong and like not proven. So that I was trying to say,
Okay.
but
Fair
yeah,
point.
I
Yeah,
said
yeah,
it
no
wrong.
issues. Just rectify that. Any questions, suggestions? Uh,
If we have no questions, we'll go to the next participant.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank
Priyanka.
you,
Thank
Priyanka. It
you,
was good.
thank you,
All the
sir.
best. Nice to have one of my own students and friends presenting. It's a great pleasure meeting you. Thank you, Priyanka.
Thank you, sir.
Now I invite Malvika Avasthi, PhD scholar. Ma'am, you may start your presentation.
All right. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So good morning, everyone. My name is Malvika Avasthi, and I'm a PhD scholar. Today, I'm here to present a paper on the topic Taxi Driver, a Post-Modernist Study. Through the course of this presentation, I will try and analyze a few elements of post-modern theory in Taxi Driver, which is a part of postmodern cinema. So Taxi Driver, a movie, it was released in 1976 by Martin Scorsese. He's the director of the movie, and it depicts a perfect glimpse of the post-modernist school of thought. First of all, I would like to share something about the postmodern theory and the elements, the important elements. So, postmodernism as a theory promotes skepticism and nihilism and also challenges the stability and continuity of meaning. The important elements involved in the post modern theory would include irony, eclecticism, rejection of binary oppositions, hierarchy, and categorization. So, all these elements can be spotted in the post modernist cinema as well. The postmodernist cinema challenged the accepted narratives by criticizing the stereotypes of the 70s. It resulted in distorting people's expectations of narrating a story in a linear fashion. right? And the movies like Pulp Fiction and Monty Python and Holy Grail and Blade Runner, all these are examples of postmodernist cinema, right? And this cinema also underscored elements like pastiche and hyperreality, irony, magic realism, unpredictability, distortion of time, and paranoia. So this research paper will primarily focus on a Taxi Driver from the perspective of postmodernism. All right. So Taxi Driver. Released in 1976, and it was directed by Martin Scorsese, as I mentioned, and it was written by Paul Schrader, and it is considered to be a classic. It is set in the busy streets of the New York City, and the taxi and the driver are both, are actually symbols. They are symbols of a monotonous life of a working man, and the meaninglessness that he carries in his life, right? And it ultimately takes a toll on his mental health, and he moves around in the streets, trying to save people who don't really want to be saved from this superficial life. And hence the movie completely justifies the postmodernist point of view. Taxi Driver, can be considered an eminent example of the classic postmodernist cinema, and it embraces actors like Robert De Niro, who plays the character of Travis Bickle in the movie. And then we move on to Jodie Foster, who plays the character of Iris, and she's a 12 and a half year old girl, and she is going through, this exploitation where she's exploited in this field of prostitution, right? And Harvey Keitel, he is playing the character of Sport in the movie, and he's a pimp, right? And he actually exploits Iris. And then we move on to Sybil Shepherd, who is playing the character of Betsy, and he's the love interest of Travis Bickle. And Leonard Harris, who is playing the character of Charles Palantine, and he's a senator. And then we move on to Peter Boyle. He's a wizard, and he's Travis Bickle's one of the friends. And then Stephen Prince, who is also called as Easy Andy in the movie, and he plays the character of a gun salesman. And then Martin Scorsese, who is the director of the movie, but he also plays a character. He plays a part in the movie also of a deranged passenger who actually wants to kill his wife because she is in this extramarital affair with a nigger, referring to a dark man. So the role of Travis Bickle was first offered to actor and filmmaker Dustin Lee Hoffman, but then he turned it down. So now I will summarize the story of the movie for you all a little bit. Travis Bickle, he is a veteran of the Vietnam War, moves to the New York City to earn a living by driving a taxi day and night. In the beginning, he accepts the city with its hustle and bustle. The only thing that bothers him is the filth and the scum in the streets. And I remember this dialogue in the movie where he says that I want it to rain. I want it to rain because he wants the New York City to be washed out of all the filth and all the dirt and dust, and probably he wants to, metaphorically, he wants to uh, you know um, clear out his heart, and the dust and the dirt sitting on him, so probably he wants to just wash away all of that. But then he meets a volunteer, that is Betsy, working in the election committee of Charles Palantine, who is elected as a senator by the people later on. And Betsy seems like a breeze of fresh air in a city of grim and sludge. But later, as a result of some turn of events, Travis realizes that she's a part of the same monotonous and coldness that he has been experiencing till now in the city. Later, he observes a 12-year-old girl, Aris, being trapped in this business of prostitution, and a deranged passenger, that is Scorsese, as I mentioned, who is basically wanting to kill his wife. And this is a turning point in Travis Bickle's life, and he starts, he completely transforms his routine, and he starts carrying guns. And he even kills a man in a grocery store. He's trying to steal something in a grocery store, and he tries to kill him. The movie ends on an extremely violent note, where Travis Bickle, he kills a few members of a gang and a pimp sport who is trying to exploit Iris. And then the movie ends with a letter written by the Steensma family. The Steensma family is the biological family of Iris, and they appreciate Travis for saving their daughter and returning her home safely. So the end glorifies Travis's character completely, with his bravery being appreciated by the people of the city, including Betsy, who is the last passenger in the movie. So, from the post-modernist point of view, the movie exhibits structural irony, and we begin on a very lighter note, but the story unravels us to the end in a very ironic situation. Just a second. Yeah. uh, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So, we begin on a very lighter note, and then the story unravels and ends on a very ironic and unexpected situation. The story also contains, snippets of magic realism. The climax, especially, isn't very clear whether it's a reality or a fantasy in Travis Bickle's mind. So, we are not able to fathom if Travis has recovered from the injuries, or has got back to his normal life, or is he still facing this mental trauma. So themes of paranoia and delusion are highlighted through this character, leading him to irrationality and loneliness. One can also spot racism prominent during the postmodern era in the movie. For instance, the deranged passenger, Martin Scorsese, revealing about his wife's affair with a nigger, referring to a dark man as a reason to kill his wife, right? And then some critics, they believe that Taxi Driver was inspired by The Searchers, which was a similar movie by John Ford. And this movie also unravels the same kind of story by John Wayne. And he also tries to save a 15-year-old girl, Debbie, as a result of loneliness and meaninglessness in his life. And in the end, she is also reunited with a biological family as okay. So all right. So I'll have to conclude it now. I will conclude it with emphasizing on a very important controversy that surrounded this movie. Was that that Jodie Foster's character was basically, she wasn't suited fit for the movie, because she was very young. She was just 12 years old when she was shooting for the movie. It was such a dark movie, and she had to go through a series of psychological tests while playing the part in the movie. And one more controversy was that John Hickley Jr., he attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan in 1981. And when he wasn't really charged with the attempted murder because of his mental condition. And as revealed by Hickley, he said that it was an effort to impress Jodie Foster, and he also imitated the mohawked appearance of Robert De Niro in the movie. And the movie was blamed actually for this incident, and it created a negative perception in people's mind as well. Right, and that is why the movie was also rated R, that is restricted by the Motion Picture Association of America. And also one more thing, that very recently I read Robert De Niro's interview, where he said that there is a famous dialogue Okay,
Yes.
so nonetheless, the movie is hitherto considered a classic and perfectly depicts the absurdity of the postmodern world.
Okay, Malvika ma'am, you are a good storyteller. We
Thank you
love
so much.
listening to your story. Though we are not, I am not familiar with the story, but I just loved listening to the story, and it was very interesting. And I just wanted to ask you, it's a 1976 movie, and it is a classic. So, what inspired you? I think it is inspiration. What inspired you to take this work for a paper? Is it that it is a classical movie, or is it that it has deranged characters? Because literature people love deranged characters. What is it that attracted you to this movie?
Actually, the I think the reason why I was so so engaged with this movie was because first of all I looked at the topic that was given was postmodernism. And I when I saw this movie, I just thought that this was best suited as per the post modern elements that we witness in the post modern theory. So maybe that was the reason which really inspired me to take on this movie.
Fair enough. And he wanted it to rain. He says he wants it to rain, right? So you were saying that rain would cleanse the city. But modern city dwellers would say that if it rains, then the city is going to be a complete mess. Was it your perspective that it would cleanse the city, or does the movie suggest that it would cleanse the city? And does it say
No,
something about
actually
our
the movie,
cities?
yes, actually the movie suggests, as I mentioned, that it is a dialogue in the movie where Travis Bickle, he keeps talking to himself, and he keeps saying things to himself, that I need to save this city. I need to save these working class people from this superficial life, because they are in this monotonous life, right? And there is nothing new that they are adding to their life. There is no meaning to their life, and there is no goal, and there is no ambition. So that is that meaninglessness is something that he scares, and that he has been experiencing himself as well. And that is why he wants people to come out of that life and really understand the real meaning of life.
Friends, questions? Don't let people easily go from Slaughterhouse 5.
Yes,
Ask
what I.
people tough questions. Yes. Nobody has question. I just have an observation. The names of the characters are very interesting. Pickle, Iris, Darkman. Has the Darkman something got to do with Shakespeare's Dark Lady? And
And
the
so
names
we
are
need.
interesting, right? Like the morality plays some very, because Travis Pickle, he lands in a pickle at the end of the movie, and I just, yeah, I felt something was suggested also, or was it just
Sir, actually, it's
yeah?
Travis Bickle. It's not Travis Pickle, but
Okay,
it's Travis Bickle.
okay,
B.
okay,
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you,
Okay,
Malak.
thank you.
We go to the next presenter, Radha Singh, PhD scholar, Department of English, BRA, Bihar University.
Thank you, Richu ma'am.
Yeah, we'll start.
Thank you, Manu. Okay, let us have an introduction of myself. Good morning, everyone. I am Radha Singh, pursuing my doctoral degree from Bihar University. And in this paper, I am going to explore the modern socio-cultural phenomena through the work of Chaman Nahal. Let us have some look on modern socio-cultural phenomena and its impact on society. Modern sociocultural phenomena are the most important and conventional issues in the humanity, containing both historical moments and sociocultural norms and its beliefs. Actually, it interprets trends or current issues and it is totally based upon the development of education, industrialization, technologies, and urban life. Basically, socioculture is a psychological hypothesis that occurs and participates in society for personal development as well as societal development. The theory of sociocultural phenomena depends or interact between people and culture in which they survive, and to survive himself with the things around him, he keeps adopting and adjusting himself in society. The present paper approaches the contemporary society as being in transition between its past and future. Uh, Actually, man is rational in each sense, and he cannot adhere to the habits and manners of his predecessors blindly. His quest in logic always promotes him to search for reality behind anything. And his logical inquiries involve a scientific temperament in him, and he investigates various material phenomena of the world. Keeping all these phenomena in his mind, Nahal penned down his very first novel, My True Faces, and in which he presents how modernity influences the married life and what is it impacts on the life of his protagonist Kamal and upon his career. Actually, Kamal is coming from traditional family, but he decides to marry with a Western culture following girl, Malti. In And after the marriage, to enjoy his conjugal life, and so much influenced by modernization, he established a separate household. But at some extent, he cannot fulfill his desire of his wife, and after some time, they begin fight over trivial issues. And at the last, Malti is also influenced by modern culture. She does not want to be pregnant or to deliver a child, but under the impact of society or pressure, at last she deliver a child. But conflict begins, and after some days, she left his home permanently, and she never came back in his life. And if we come across the impact of modernity, modernity on society, any socio-cultural phenomena have always a value semantic aspect, and it is a connection between human and culture in a long term, relating between the culture and society. Nahal writes his next novel, Azadi. Actually, Azadi is basically a partisan-based novel, which the writer describes that how modern people change their attitude towards society, and they moralize their religion and spiritual values of life. Actually, partition of 1947 between India and Pakistan is influenced by such modern traits such as political expediencies, a mutual distrust between man, or misinterpretation of religion, or distrust of major community, and the most important factor, the lust and sexual desire of some officials or criminals. Actually, the creation of a Muslim state threat the Hindu people mostly because they have no right to live in Pakistan, and they are forcibly migrate from their own land. They are forced to migrate their own land. A very inhuman behavior like rape, kidnap, arson, or murder is common at that time. People becomes bloodthirsty of their opposite religion. La, act, After going through this particular novel, I realized that no any religion or no any modernity promotes man to be or to be unkind or to be cruel for anyone. A true sense of modernity always promotes man to being kind uh, each other, and modernity never demands pretentiousness or showy nature. But pretentiousness and arrogant behavior is very common in these days, especially in the upper class elite society. And keeping such pretentiousness in his view, Nahal writes his next novel, The English Queens, in which he takes the six Indian queens. Actually, these are Indian ladies, but he give him the name English queens because these ladies were always behaved and act like an English ladies. Actually, they feel pride over themselves because the English charter is handed over to them by Lord Mountbatten on the eve of in on the eve of his left for after leaving of his India. These six queens were actually equality and liberty is the special demands of modernity. Everyone wants to be free in their own style, and these ladies were also marked by such types of quality. These queens were always talks about equality and liberty, but practicing in their common life they always fail. And this much is very clear through the episode of Rekha and Pradeep love marriage or their reunion. Actually, Rekha belongs from high class society, and she is a daughter of Brigadier Chopra, but she falls in love with a common boy, a his music teacher by profession, and coming from Basti. Uh, See, Rekha's parents oppose her marriage to Pradeep because it is something against their dignity. And these uh, queens also tries to convince Rekha to not to support to be getting married to a Basti boy because he is not able to give him a proper lifestyle or a standard lifestyle. But in respect of all these ladies, Rekha is a true inheritor of modern socio-culture follower because she rejects all sorts of pretentiousness towards her life, and after some argument she marries Pradeep. Materialistic conscience and consumeristic lifestyle of the age is well described in the next novel of Chaman, that is Sunrise in Fiji. Changing modes of globalization can be seen very easily through the changing behavior of people. If we talks about the changing globalization, it always impact on the change. It always change the behavior of common people. Actually, faster means of transportation always changes man thoughts. Today, due to transportation, people can move here and there. They can visit. They can move.
Was better.
Okay. After this, I would like to conclude my work. Actually, the
Is she stuck? Manu sir.
It seems she got stuck, or maybe there is some network issue.
Did my changer bell was my changer bell so heartbreaking?
No. I think she has a network issue or something. Okay, she has left the meeting. It seems right. Suddenly, she may have got disconnected. No issue. We will move to the next person, and when she comes back, we will
Take the
yeah,
questions.
yeah.
The next person is
Parul Soni. Parul, are you here, Parul?
Parul Soni. You're mute. You can start your presentation.
I think I am audible now.
Wait, Radha ma'am, is your network issue sorted out?
Hello everyone, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
sorry. Actually, I'm going to switch off my video, but I'm
Your
going to log out.
presentation is
Extremely
complete.
sorry for that.
No issues, no issues. That is fine. We have a bright light to see, bright candle, a lot of hope. Thank you, and it was a good presentation, Radhaji. And
Thank you so much, sir.
So, questions, friends? Do we have questions? Anything? I just wanted to mention this. Actually, it is not a response to what Radha ma'am has said, but generally, when we make, when we in an academic paper, in academic writing, when we use words like modern, modernity, modernism, etc., we have to be very specific about their meanings. We cannot use these words interchangeably, because they carry a world of signification, and they carry opposite meanings even. For example, modernity and modernism are opposing terms. Modernity is the opposite of modernism. Modernism is something that went for all traditional things. It went back to tradition, it went back to orthodoxy, whereas modernity is just the opposite. So when we use these words, since these words have the part modern, we think that they all mean the same. But no, modernism is a movement that happened in the first half of the 20th century. Modernity is something else. It is something that we used to refer to a particular style of living and things like that. And modern, again, that is an adjective that we used to qualify certain things. So these words should be used with special caution, because we may fall into the mistake of wrongly using the terms. But in academic writing, we have to be extremely careful. So modernism is not modernity, rather it is the opposite of modernity. Okay, thank you, Radha ma'am. That was a good presentation.
Thank you, sir. I will keep your point on my mind. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Parul ma'am, you can begin. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all of you. I am Parul Soni from a research scholar in Department of English, Kurukshetra University. So today I think I want to present I think my PPT is visible now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My title is Aboriginal Identity Matters, a study of Anne Scott Momaday's House Made of Dawn and Leslie Marmon Silko ceremony. If we look in the modern world, or I would say in the late 20th century, we find that identity is a thing which is the uniting element. Everyone wants a kind of recognition, whether it is in fragmented form or any kind. But this Native American literature is a kind of exception to it. They found that fragmentation is there, but still locating yourself to your traditional roots, you can survive those things. So this is the overview that my paper will deal with the realization that you need to recognize yourself, that you must join yourself to the traditional values and your customs which are at your roots. My selected works will be House Made of Dawn by Momaday and Ceremony by Silko. The paper will focus on the struggle of protagonists Abel and Teo, that how they develop through different phases and finally able to identify themselves with the things. My objective is that actually Tayo and Abel, both characters were mixed blood. Like in Native Americans, there are full bloods and mixed blood. Full blood means to say that those people who are connected and who had the genealogy of pure Native Americans. But there are people who have the parents like one from the European culture or from the African culture, and the mother is from the Native Americans. So both the characters, Teo and Abel, were mixed bloods. And then they were marginalized. Like, if I would like to mention here that till 1940s they were not given the citizenship of America. So for their citizenship they have to leave their Native American values behind. When the war was introduced, the people from Native America have to participate. I would say that they were forced to participate in those wars. So what was the impact of war on the Teo and Abel is studied in this paper. The third thing which I analyzed, that after the disillusionment of war, how they were able to recognize themselves in the roots again. This is the main idea I had studied in my paper. If I would like to say that the main idea which I have picked in my paper is that from the post-colonial perspective, identity is the product of our society. Various outer elements work in the product in the formation of new persona or new identity which we are now. The paper will like to compare both the characters, that Abel and Tao, how they were affected and from the war, from their society, and how finally they were able to participate in the traditional ceremonies to reclaim their roots, that how from where they belong, and it is the only source from where they can reconsider or revive themselves. The first thing I had studied from the perspective that how in the home they were alienated. Okay, Abel was a small kid who is unknown about his father. His grandfather Francisco was the guardian who used to look after him. But Francisco wanted him to adopt the traditional ways, like a strict traditional way of native life. But Abel feel it like a barrier, that it is working as a chain in his progress. So he was not fellow with the traditional roots. Like Teo, he was also orphan. His mother died and his father was a white American who was unknown to him. So he was adopted by his aunt, who was totally unhelpful to him. She just loved his son Rocky, and Teo was like an outsider to her. But as a guardian or the sister of her mother, his mother, she has to adopt him. So they both were alienated, as their genealogy was unknown to them, and their struggle started from their home, that they need to identify, need to recognition. In their this desire to recognition, they opted for war. So both went to the battlefield. Now here the thing which is a point of difference between both the characters, Abel and Teo, is that Abel has a fragmented view of war. He had blurred images that might be this thing happen or that thing happen. But Teo was clear that he had lost his brother Rocky and his favorite uncle Joshua at war. He is responsible for their death. He is not able to save them. But Abel was like, okay, everything is in fog, nothing is clear. He is sometime just for example, that when he came back from war, he slept for complete day. He was not able to recognize his grandfather. But Teo was like battle fatigued. He was in a guilt that he was not able to save the his brother, and his aunt will not allow him to enter the home. This was the thing. But the solution, their elders suggested that they need the homecoming. So when they came back from the war, the thing which they realized, that the modern ways of treatment were not efficient to treat their problems. So they were introduced to the traditional ceremonies and they joined them. They participated in the rituals. Like, I would like to mention here that Abel participated in a rooster ceremony. There, what was in that ceremony, that he has a white rooster is buried in the earth, and a player or the participant on a horse is came running and has to pull the rooster out of the earth. But Abel was unsuccessful in that. he was like that, okay, I need to participate in the ceremonies, but it needs a lot of effort. Second thing, words are very important for the Native American culture, but Abel was unable to articulate his emotions or words, like in his relationship to Angela St. John. If we analyze or go through the story in detail, we find that whenever he is on contact with Angela, a Euro-American lady, he is short of words, and in his relation to his grandfather Francisco, he is again not able to connect that, okay, this time I want to say this, but there are no words. In the case of Teo, what was the thing that he went towards alcoholism, that he thought that might alcoholism may save him, or he will be able to forget the things, but no, he was not right. His grandmother guided him that you should consult a traditional medicine man. He will help you to join the traditional ceremonies where you can find your roots or understand the ways of life which are adopted by Native American people for centuries. So Teo was saved, in sharp contrast to the other characters in the novels who were uh, trying to build a hybrid identity, which is a product of the contact with Euro-American society, and they were not able to survive. The main idea which I got from the analyzing the character of Abel and Tayo is that if we want to identify or reclaim our true self, that what we are, we need to reconnect to our roots, our ancient ways of life with a modern touch. Like when the traditional ways were imposed on Abel, he was like, I am in a closed room, but he was given the way to leave that room, but still there was a hint that, okay, your roots will only help you to survive. So the paper, the main idea which I got from that every person needs to understand that everyone is a separate entity in the society, whether it is Aboriginal or mixed blood, on the part of self and society. Both need to understand that every person is unique in his or her way. You can't force him to adopt the ways. If he is willing or she is willing, okay, fine, you can do that. Okay, this is the main idea of my paper. I think that my idea is clear to you.
That was spot on in time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, and you did a wonderful thing by not changing your slides. So we were at left waiting, but one thing I really liked about your presentation was you were speaking from your heart.
Thank you very much,
Your
sir.
eyes were deriving things from
Actually,
far
I was
from,
not visible to myself that.
Awesome. That was lovely.
Thank you very much, sir.
I know that you spoke from your heart, and I know that you have all those things in your heart, which is
Actually, sir, this is a small piece of my larger canvas. That this is my PhD topic. I am pursuing my doctoral research on this thing, the quest for identity in the fiction of Momaday and Silko.
excellent. All the best.
Thank you very much, sir.
Wonderful.
Can I ask a doubt?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Yeah.
How will you differentiate between the self and the identity?
Ma'am, self is, I think that self is what is inner. We identify that on our own, that we are this and we are this. Identity is a recognition from the society. I would like to differentiate in this way.
Yeah, well done. And one more thing, the first part of your title was interesting. Aboriginal identity.
Identity matters.
Could you please elaborate a little on the play of words there?
Yes. Sir, actually, there are synonyms for natives, Aboriginals, Indians, and Red Indians, Maoris. They all are the native resident of those places. Like in America, as we all know, that it is a colonized country. And thus later on settlers established that, but it is not like that. The earlier the continent was full of wilderness.
I was asking the play of words. We
Yes,
have done some.
that's
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
coming to
okay.
that point. So Aboriginal, natives, Red Americans, Red Indians, and Indians all are synonyms. When it comes to Aboriginals, people are like they are very small in number. So people in belonging to those communities are trying to identify themselves with other identities like Euro American or the American continent, but in that case they are forgetting their roots from where they come. In that case, my point is that in order to reclaim your roots, you have to realize that your own self, your own identity matters. This is what Aboriginal identity matters.
Okay, and when you say roots, I guess it can be ROOTS roots and ROUTES roots.
ROOTS.
And I also felt that Aboriginal identity matters. There is one way of saying like that. No, Aboriginal identity matters, and
Yes.
Aboriginal identity certainly matters a lot.
No, this is Aboriginal identity matters. Like every identity in different ways,
Excellent.
Aboriginal
Excellent.
identity also
Yeah,
matters.
yeah, a lot of food for thought. Thank you so much. That was a
Thank
very
you, sir.
interesting
Thank you very
and
much,
very
sir.
passionate presentation. Thank you.
Thank
And
you very
we
much, sir.
move to the last presentation. Yes, Richu, please.
Thank you, Parul ma'am. Now we go to the next presenter, Sakshi Bansal, research scholar, Amity University, UP. Oh, this is a co-paper, two paper. There is also Vinita Prasad.
No, not two paper, two presenters and one paper. Yeah.
Co-authored paper.
Yeah, yeah. Sakshi, you are presenting on behalf of both of you, right? Yes, yes. Please go ahead. Your audio is mute.
You are not on mute, but you are not audible.
Your audio is not working. Yeah,
Now,
it is.
okay. The headphones were disconnected.
Still no audio. I mean, remove it, unplug it from the computer. Otherwise, we are not hearing anything.
But we heard it in the middle.
Yeah,
The
in between, I think the plugging slot may have some problem. Yeah, rejoin.
Okay. At 2, we are having sessions participants of Shatruba Mishra, and 2 to 4, we are having the talk. No, 2 to 3:30. Then 3:30 will be the slaughterhouse live. Slaughterhouse will be live again. Yeah, Sakshi ma'am is that. You are on mute.
You are on mute. Now you are silent.
Ma'am, we can see your mouth moving, but we are not hearing anything.
Okay, try your mobile. Forget the video. Close it and join from your mobile. We can't hear anything. And thank you for the 20 others who are here and listening. You people will benefit, because if we don't attend paper presentations, we are not hearing anything. It's the best way to know what is happening around us. Sakshi ma'am, you are not audible. Other than the paper presenters, we have a few more people, right, Uchu?
Yes.
Dutta, she is a very active person, active participant in our lectures. Yesterday also, we found a lot of comments on YouTube.
Yeah, you are a great participant during the quiz. You told so many right answers. Okay.
You are not audible, ma'am.
You should call her co-author.
This will not help. Let her join from her phone, or I think the device is not working. The problem is not with Google Meet.
But
Joining and rejoining will not help. Madam, your plug-in slot may have some problem. Make sure it is properly plugged in. Whatever audio device you are using, make sure it is properly connected.
ma'am, the audio symbol came in the between, but then it was gone.
Yeah. Otherwise, join from your phone. Yeah, yes, right.
This device is not working.
But no audio is coming, madam.
No, ma'am.
Madam, try joining from your any other device you have, or mobile or something.
Yeah, let's forget the presentation, but we can hear you. Yeah, take your time, ma'am. But we need to start the session, the next session.
Take your time to join, but present in 5 minutes. Yeah. Don't worry. Try take your time and join with your mobile or some other device. You will be fine. We all have learned to deal with technical problems.
Or ma'am, if you can call your co-author, the co-author can present.
A co-author may not know what is going on. Most often, I think she is a research scholar and it is probably her guide who is the co-author. So,
Today evening we are having two sessions, right? 3:30 to 5 and then 5:30 to 7.
and
The
it's Tufani honor.
Palace of I wonder what will be happening in the Palace of Illusions right now.
As actually ma'am tries to connect anybody else, we can say something, we can talk something, suggestions, questions to anybody who presented. Don't leave. Anybody who feels you couldn't present fully, if you want to say something more, probably about Lacan. We missed something on Lacan and his psychoanalysis.
And
First paper presenter was talking about Lacan. No, Ayushi, are you here?
Ayushi about that ecofeminism.
Ecofeminism, yes.
And Parul ma'am, when you talked while facing, that was when we felt more connection. I mean, during the entire paper, you were memorizing the story, but when you look to the screen, that was when as an audience, I felt more connection. I'm not saying that you should change your way because your speech was actually about.
Actually, the thing was, I myself was not able to see myself on my screen while sharing. So I thought that okay, the screen is up to the camera is visible to my eyes, or I am having a connection with the camera. So that was the issue. I was also thinking that I might not have any eye contact with all you people, but
Hello.
Yeah, now the audio
section.
is working. Yes, please, but make your presentation short.
Yeah, you can hear me.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Present it in.
Okay, I'm very sorry. I won't be able
No
to
issue,
switch
but
on my
no
video.
problem. Complete your presentation in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, one and all. I am Sakshi Bansal, a PhD scholar at Amity University, Uttar Pradesh. I am here to present my paper titled "It's on Me: The Viewer of Black Mirror Bandersnatch." This paper studies the interactive film Black Mirror Bandersnatch, released on Netflix on 28th December 2018. Interactive film is a genre of cinema that requires active input from the viewers for plot progression. It is based on the idea of choose your own adventure books. You must have read it in your childhood. And in Bandersnatch, after each episode, the viewers get a choice which has two options, sometimes even three. For example, the first choice that the film gives its viewers is when Stephen, the protagonist, chooses what he wants to eat for breakfast between sugar puffs and frosties, or rather, when he chooses between chocolate and ice cream. At this moment, the scene is filmed in such a way that the viewers encounter a mild halt, and the screen displays two choices for 10 seconds. If the choice is not made within that time, then Netflix chooses a default answer and moves ahead with the plot. It must be noted that these choices are not ornamental. They like literally fundamentally decide what is going to happen next. So the critical idea that is studied in this paper is that of a viewer who has greater control and greater authority over the text. And the viewer is not only a passive consumer of content, and he or she breaks that hierarchy that is between the screen and the consumer. So, with interactive mediums like hypertext and immersive movies, the viewer exercises some agency during this consumption of the content. So, what the paper does is that it seeks to undercut the Platonic definitions of interactive digital narratives by problematizing the role of this viewer of Bandersnatch. In this film, the idea of controls becomes ironic, which reflects the postmodern themes. The practice of agency via a viewer results in diminished control of the protagonist on his own life, that is Stephen. All along with the film, he has an increasing sense of an external presence that he thinks is controlling his life. So, according to some researchers, this film creates this critical discourse to portray a future dystopia where the technological effects make people incapable of controlling their own lives. So most of the researchers are focusing on technology, choosing or on the narrator or on the non-linear plot, but only a few focus on the viewer's role, and that too in a positive light, assuming that the viewer is now free to see what he or she wants. I agree that Black Mirror liberates the reader and also frees her from the shackles of a linear film progression and also gives her control. But what it also gives the viewer, and we should understand this, that Black Mirror also gives the viewer a burden of accountability. So, when we analyze this role as positive, it may be true for other interactive mediums. But when it comes to Bandersnatch, it becomes a case of pathos. So, according to Nitzan Benshall, he's a researcher, he believes that the reality of a film is not necessary to be engaged in its fictional situation. uh, because our imagination presents that situation as probable. So our engagement or involvement is thus not dependent on how real or fictional the film is. What really is important is the ability of the viewer to perceive it as possible. So in the contemporary world, the postmodern world, where we see new technologies, inventions, and abilities, the probability of this perception increases manifold. So when Bandersnatch portrays Stephen as confused, as indecisive, as depressed, the situation is already too real for a viewer. She experiences life in real time. By combining this realism with a narrative format that uses hypertext technology vis-a-vis interactive function, the viewer's engagement with the film increases like it had never before. So there's not just a greater degree of physical involvement with the film, but also psychological involvement and emotional connectedness. So if the viewer of this film is a serious one, then they might feel or even believe that they are responsible for what's happening to the protagonist. The scenes that involve homicide, suicide, etc., can become very difficult burdens to carry. There's even an episode where the viewers can choose whether or not Stephen kills his father. And if they choose yes, he hits him with an ashtray. And we see him struggling with that decision because obviously he does not want to kill his own father. It is the viewers who are making him do so. So yeah, just I'll just wind up in a minute. This is where the viewer's control is displayed transparently, and even the episode that follows this choice, the viewers can also choose whether Stephen buries or chops his body, and we really see him chopping his body if we choose him to do so. So, the paper concludes by establishing that describing interactive content as liberating is true only for the form. Stephen's anxiety is a result of his concern for his own free will, but The viewer's anxiety arises out of her power to control and destroy the protagonist's life. They both are trapped in a vicious cycle of a technological world. So, the paper brings the critique to a full circle by establishing that the film is thematically about the same thing that its operations enable, and it simultaneously critiques that ability by pulling the viewers into its postmodern mess. While most viewers are aware of this illusion, for some it becomes a traumatic experience of making the wrong choices. Thank you so much.
Excellent papers, actually. Your paper is very good. I think the choice of the work, as well as the idea, development of ideas, top notch. It was very interesting, and in a lot of intertextual ideas came to our minds. We were thinking about first, we were thinking about death of the author and birth of the reader when you spoke about the viewer having greater control. So it was about the birth of the viewer. And then when you spoke about pathos, we realized that, yeah, accountability, greater accountability also comes. So with power comes responsibility. So birth of the reader isn't about reader enjoying everything, it is about reader having more responsibility. And then you made it very clear that it is probably only in a formal setting that you can say that it is liberating, but it is not. A point very well made, excellent paper, very good. Any questions?
Thank you so much, sir. And I'm really sorry for the
No issues.
the device problem. Yeah.
Technological problems are part and parcel of our lives. No issues. Any questions, dear friends? Okay, so we shall wind up this paper presentation session. So we had 6 papers presented in this session, and all the papers, I thought all the papers were very good papers. All had excellent ideas, excellent themes, and some very novel things also we got to hear, and we got to learn a lot of things. So I hope the participants also benefited from whatever they learned, saw and heard. And thank you all.